Hi guys, hope you are doing well. Welcome to the channel. In this video, we will learn how we can prevent users to access their corporate emails on mobile devices, or you can say personal mobile devices, using different methods and techniques. Many organizations want to prevent users to access their corporate emails from their personal mobile devices. Here is the company use case. Organization has no premium services subscription like Azure Active Directory, Enterprise Mobility Plus Security or Intune, and still wants to achieve at max security levels to block company corporate emails on mobile devices. Users will be allowed to access Outlook Web Access OVA only from trusted public IP addresses and based on Active Directory attributes. We also have to block Microsoft Outlook mobile application for specific user or company wide. Let's go through what is Exchange ActiveSync. ActiveSync is a client protocol that lets users synchronize their mailbox with their mobile devices. By default, ActiveSync is enabled on new user mailboxes. For example, if we disable ActiveSync on a mailbox, it prevents the user from synchronizing their mailbox with a mobile device using ActiveSync. Let's take a look what are mailbox plans. A mailbox plan is a template that automatically configures mailbox properties in Exchange Online. Mailbox plans correspond to Microsoft 365 and Office 365 license types. When you assign a license to a new user, the corresponding mailbox plan is used to configure the settings on the new mailbox that's created. Here is the list of mailbox plans for subscription or license. Let's go through few PowerShell commands before going to lab exercise. This command will disable Exchange ActiveSync for the mailbox of user 1. User 1 is our specific user. So this command only disable ActiveSync protocol for this user only. We can disable ActiveSync for a specific user using PowerShell command or GUI using Exchange Admin Center. So we will learn in lab exercises how we can disable from GUI or PowerShell. What if we want to enable ActiveSync for this user? If ActiveSync enable parameter value is true, so ActiveSync will be enabled for that particular user. This command enable ActiveSync for mailbox user 1. If we want to verify the changings of this command get cache mailbox will return the ActiveSync results for a user. For example, if its value is false, it means ActiveSync is disabled. If its value is true, that means ActiveSync is enabled. Let's go through the PowerShell commands for mailbox plans. We will use PowerShell commands in our lab exercise to enable or disable ActiveSync protocol for specific mailbox plan or all mailbox plans using PowerShell. Get mailbox plan commandlets will return a list of all CAS mailbox plan in the organization. If we are planning to disable ActiveSync upon mailbox creation for all mailbox plans, this command will do that, which means no matter what license we have assigned to user, because we are disabling ActiveSync for all mailbox plans. We can also disable ActiveSync for specific mailbox plan. In this example, this command will disable ActiveSync protocol for Exchange Online Enterprise plan only. Now let's move to our lab exercise. I have launched Windows PowerShell using Run as Administrator, and I have already connected with Exchange Online PowerShell. If you don't know how to connect with Exchange Online PowerShell, so don't worry, I have already prepared a video on how to connect with Exchange Online PowerShell using multi-factor authentication or without MFA. You can find that video link in this video description. Now let's start executing these commands. The very first command is disable the ActiveSync protocol for this user. Now select this command and hit F8 button or click here. So now command has been executed successfully for this user. If you want to know the status of the protocol of this user, you can execute the last command, get CAS mailbox identity with this user name. So I will select this command and hit F8. So now we can see here is the ActiveSync enabled protocol value is false, which means ActiveSync protocol is disabled for this user. If you want to re-enable the protocol for this user, you can run this command with true value. If hit F8, and now we will verify the status of the command. I will select again this command, get command, and hit F8. Here you go. Now you can see the value is true, which means the ActiveSync protocol has been enabled for this user successfully. So in this way you can enable or disable the ActiveSync protocol for specific user using PowerShell. So now we will learn how we can enable or disable ActiveSync protocol upon new mailbox creation. So let's get it started. Now here is the list of commands for CAS mailbox plans. The very first command will return the list of all CAS mailbox plans in the organization. So let's select and hit F8, which will return the list of all CAS mailbox plans available in the organization. So now we can see the list of all CAS mailbox plans available in the organization. So here is the list of all CAS mailbox plans available. So one thing is to notice here, ActiveSync enabled protocol value is false, which means ActiveSync protocol is enabled for every CAS mailbox plans in the organization. So we can enable or disable the ActiveSync protocol for specific CAS mailbox plans or all CAS mailbox plans available in the organization. Now we will disable ActiveSync protocol for all CAS mailbox plan. So let's execute the second command. Command has been executed successfully. So I want to show you the result of this command. So I will execute the very first command. Perfect. So now you can see the difference. In the very first command, the ActiveSync enable value is true. In the second command is value is false, which means ActiveSync protocol has been disabled for all cache mailbox plans available in the organization. You can also re-enable the ActiveSync protocol for all cache mailbox plan. So we will execute the third command to enable the ActiveSync protocol for all cache mailbox plans in the organization. Command has been executed successfully, so I want to show you the result of this command. Perfect. Now you can see the value is true for ActiveSync enabled, which means ActiveSync protocol has been enabled for all cache mailbox plan again. Now we can enable or disable ActiveSync protocol for specific cache mailbox plan. So here's the command will disable ActiveSync protocol for Exchange Online Enterprise plan. So I will select and execute the command. So command has been executed successfully, so I want to show you the result. Here you go. Now we can see ActiveSync enabled is value is false for Exchange Online Enterprise. Perfect. So which means ActiveSync protocol is disabled for Exchange Online Enterprise cache mailbox plan only. So we can re-enable this value by using this command. Select this and hit F8, and I want to show you the result. Perfect. Now you can see we have successfully re-enabled the value of ActiveSync enabled, which is true for Exchange Online Enterprise. So in this way we can enable or disable ActiveSync protocol for all cache mailbox plans or specific cache mailbox plans. Now I will show you the user experience once you disable ActiveSync protocol for that user. So how user will experience if you disable the protocol for that user. So let's get it started. I have my mobile here and I have opened up the email client to configure my email client here. So I will add my email address here and I will choose Exchange and Office 365 and I have to enter my email address here. I have successfully entered my email address here and I will choose next, and in the next screen it will prompt for password. So I will enter my password in the next screen. So I have to enter the password here. I have entered my password successfully and I will choose sign in. For demo purpose I can skip for now. Now email client is trying to connect with or sync this user mailbox in email client. So let's see what happened. It's still trying to sync user one mailbox in email client. Here you go. So we can see the error message, cannot reach the server, try again later or contact your IT admin. So we because we have disabled ActiveSync protocol and this email client is unable to sync this user emails in this email client. So we have blocked email client successfully for this user. In the previous lab exercise, we had disabled ActiveSync protocol successfully. Now our next requirement is to block Microsoft Outlook app for Android or iOS mobile devices. A question comes up, why we need to block Microsoft Outlook for iOS and Android? Because we had already blocked the ActiveSync protocol. Let me show you something. Now I will launch my email client, which is Gmail client for Android. I will add my email address here. I'll choose Exchange and Office 365. Now I will enter my email address here. Now I have to enter my password for this user. I have entered the password here successfully. I'll choose sign in. This email client is trying to synchronize user 1 mailbox. Just keep in mind, we had already disabled the user 1 ActiveSync protocol in our previous lab. Here you go. We can see this error message. This is because of we had already disabled the ActiveSync protocol for this user. Now I'll choose my Microsoft Outlook application for Android. I'm going to launch my Outlook application. I have launched my Outlook application and I'll choose add account, and I have to enter the email address here. I have entered my email address here. I'll choose continue. This Outlook application is trying to configure user mailbox. Here you go. We can see the mailbox has been configured successfully. We can see here, this is the user 1, and we are able to configure user 1 mailbox in Microsoft Outlook application. And just keep in mind, we had already disabled the ActiveSync, but Microsoft Outlook app is able to configure user mailbox. The answer is very important. Microsoft Outlook use the native Microsoft Sync technology as the protocol for data synchronization. By disabling ActiveSync, it will not block user to sync their mailbox in Microsoft Outlook app on any mobile device, Android or iOS. This is because of Microsoft Outlook app use Microsoft Sync technology as the protocol for data synchronization. Microsoft Outlook app does not support ActiveSync, but we can block it for specific user or for everyone organization-wide using PowerShell. Let's go through all commands and practice those commands in our lab exercise. I have launched the Windows PowerShell using Run as Administrator. Here are the commands for the specific user. The very first command is which parameter value is true. This is the default value. We have already tested in previous. User can configure their mailbox in Microsoft Outlook, Android application or iOS application. The second command is with parameter false. Actually, this is the command will disable the access to user to Microsoft Outlook for iOS and Android. I have selected this command and I will choose run. Command has been executed successfully. I will execute one more time. Here you go. We can see the warning. The command completed successfully, but no settings of the user 1 has been modified, which means the previous command has been applied successfully. There is no more changings required for this user. If you want to re-enable the access to Microsoft Outlook app, this is the first command will be used with the true parameter. I will execute this command. The command has been successfully executed. In this way, we can enable or disable the access to Outlook, Microsoft Outlook for iOS and Android for the specific user. In the next, we will learn how we can enable or disable the access to Microsoft Outlook company-wide or organization-wide. Now here are the commandlets to block Microsoft Outlook app for everyone on mobile devices, either iOS or Android. We have to execute both commands to successfully block the Microsoft Outlook on mobile devices. So I will choose one by one these commands and will execute. First command has been executed successfully and I'll choose second one. Second command also has been completed successfully. So in this way we can disable the access to Microsoft Outlook app for mobile devices, either iOS or Android. These two commands will create two new rules to block the Microsoft Outlook app. We can verify these two rules. Here are the commandlets to get the list of devices access rules, or if you want to remove the device access rule, you can also do that. The very first command is to get the list of devices access rules. So I will choose and hit F8. It will return the result of the devices access rules. Now we can see here are two devices access rules which we had created previously. These two rules will block the access to Microsoft Outlook for iOS and Android. The next command is to remove the devices access rules. If you want to remove the device access rules, you can also do that. Select this command and hit F8. This will remove the command. This will remove the devices access rules. Click yes to all. Now command has been executed successfully. Now I will choose one more time the very first command to get the list of devices access rules. Select this and hit F8. So this time we have no rules in our system. So in this way you can create new rules or remove the existing rules. In Exchange Online, we have successfully blocked the access to Microsoft Outlook application for Android or iOS. Let's see the user experience, how end user will experience these changes. So I'm going to launch my Microsoft Outlook application. I will add an account. I have to enter my username here. I'll choose continue. Now it's trying to configure the mailbox. Here you go. We have successfully disabled or blocked the access to user for Microsoft Outlook application either on Android or iOS. You can see the error message, login error. The connection to your mail server timed out. This is because of we have blocked the Microsoft Outlook app for Android or iOS. We also want to prevent a user to use their Outlook Web Access, which is OWA, from outside the organization endpoints, or allow only to specific user or list of user based on their Active Directory attributes. For that purpose, client access rules will be created using PowerShell commands, which help us to meet our requirement. These commands will block the access to Outlook Web Access for all users, but allowed only for the specific IPs, which is included in except any of the client IP addresses or ranges parameter, and its value is our IP address. We can add multiple IPs or ranges, and we can also modify or add new IPs or ranges in it later. we will perform all activities in our lab exercise. OWA is also allowed in this command for specific user or all users whose country or region is United States and based on IP address exceptions. Now let's get started with our lab exercise. Let's start with the user experience. By default, every user is allowed to access Outlook Web Access from any locations. So let us check. I have to enter my password for this demo user. I have entered my password for this user. Click sign in. Choose no. Here you go. We can see I have successfully logged in with my demo user on the Outlook Web Access. Now let's start or execute the PowerShell commands to create a client access rules to block the user access to OWA from specific IPs or Active Directory attributes. I have launched Windows PowerShell using Run Administrator successfully. So now here is a list of commands we will execute in our demo purpose or demo lab exercise. The very first command will create a new client access rule with action deny access and name is block OWA Office 365 externally, which will block only Outlook Web App Protocol, and here are the exceptions and which country or region not equal to with the United States, and exception IP address is here. So user this command will block for everyone access to Outlook Web App, but not block for users whose country is United States and set and public IP address mentioned in exception. So let's execute this command to create a client access rule. Yes to all. Now command has been executed successfully and we can see our client access rule here. So now we can also see the warning, your first rule maybe take up to 24 hours to be implemented, because this is our very first rule here. Now next command, I will execute the next command to see the results of this client access rule. Now execute the next command. Now here we can see our exception IP address mentioned in exception, and here is the protocol which is Outlook Web App, and here is the country which is United States. So every user will be blocked and whose country not equal to United States, and the user coming from this exception IP address mentioned in the exception any of client IP address or ranges. If you want to add another IP address or value in the existing rule, or you want to remove those values from the existing rule, you can also do that. The next command is set client access rule will add another IP address in the existing rule. So let's execute this command. Yes to all, and command has been executed successfully. Now let's see the result by using this command. Execute this command. Command has been executed successfully and we can see our new IP address I have add using the next command. Now you can also remove this IP address from the existing rule. So this command will do that. Now execute. Yes to all. Command has been executed successfully. Now see the result here. Here you go. So we have removed the IP address successfully from our existing client access rule. So in this way we can add or remove any existing value from our existing client access rule. Another option is remove client access rule. If you want to remove the entire client access rule, you can also do that. We will use this command with the client access rule name. So this command will remove the client access rule in the Exchange Online. This newly created rules will take a few minutes or an hour to successfully propagate in Exchange Online. So after that we will see the user experience, how user will experience after creating this rule in Exchange Online. Let's start the user experience by using PowerShell. We can test the user from this command, or we can also directly sign into OWA, which is outlook.office.com, with the same users to see the changings. So here we will use test client access rule commandlet. This will test how client access rule affect access to your organization. If any of the client properties you specify for this commandlet match any client access rule. So let's start with this executing this command. I am going to execute this command. So here is the result is nothing, because we have mentioned this IP address in our exception, right? So it's mean user is allowed to access Outlook Web Access from this IP. Let's change this IP address to another IP. I'm going to remove one digit from here, and let's start executing this command. Here you go. Because the IP has been changed in the test command, and user is not authorized to access Outlook Web Access from this IP address. So it's mean this IP is not included in our exception. So every IP which is not mentioned in or included in exception, user will be rejected from that IP addresses. So in this way we can manage our access to Outlook Web App Access for our organization users, which is very helpful commandlets to control the access to users to Outlook Web Access in Exchange Online. We have successfully created the client access rule in Exchange Online. Now we will see the user experience. I have to log in on outlook.office.com, and I need to enter my email address here. I have entered my email address here successfully. I'll choose next. I have to enter my password here. I have entered my password here successfully. I'll choose sign in. Here you go. We can see user has been blocked to access Outlook Web Access from outside the organization, or the IP address which is not included in the exception in client access rule. Here is the another technique to prevent users to configure their mailboxes in Windows Office Outlook application. So by default, MAPI protocol is enabled for every users. Whenever you assign a license or mailbox has created in the backend, so MAPI protocol will be enabled for every single users. So we have to enable or disable the MAPI protocol for individual users. So we can perform enable or disable by using PowerShell or by using GUI. So I will demonstrate you the both methods. So here is the first command to disable the MAPI protocol for this user. Set cast mailbox command will be used for that purpose, and with the MAPI enable parameter false. So I'm going to select this command and execute. Command has been executed successfully. So the next command with the true parameter, if you want to re-enable the protocol, you will use this command with the true parameter. So in this way you can enable or disable the protocol, MAPI protocol, for the individual user by using PowerShell in Exchange Online. Now let's go through the GUI method by using Exchange Admin Center. I have successfully logged into my Exchange Admin Center. So here's my user, and I will double click on this user and I will choose Mailbox features. So here is our MAPI protocol, which is by default enabled. So here is the disable button. You can click here, and if you are sure you want to disable, yes. Now we can see the MAPI protocol is disabled. If you want to save these settings, just click save. If you want to re-enable this MAPI protocol, you can click so enable. So in this way you can enable or disable MAPI protocol by using GUI from Exchange Admin Center in Exchange Online.